Welcome to Nightlight. Step away from the mainstream and gather around as we enlighten the world and our realities and travel this cosmic journey we call life. Join us as we share with you and provide that beacon that can guide us all to a better way. Explore with us as we examine a metaphysical montage of spiritual insights covering everything from the mundane to the magical, UFOs to unicorns, and everything in between. This is a time of awakening, of sharing and evolving, of spreading our wings and soaring on the cosmic breath of creation. Come and join with other light-minded spirits as we weave our lights together to seek understanding, enlightenment, and with a little luck, some wisdom. This is Nightlight, a reminder that you are never alone.
Welcome, everybody. Glad you could join me today. We're going to be talking about a really delightful book. It's called Your Higher Power, and it's by David Starr and Francesca Rose. It's an amazing book, and it's something that those of you on a spiritual journey are going to want to take a look at a little about the book. This book will guide you on a soul journey to energetically expand into your spiritual gifts. You don't need a ship to explore this space. Your body is your ship, and by using your consciousness, you can energetically travel anywhere in the Omniverse. This book will teach new metaphysical techniques that will align you to your spiritual gifts and help you to become one with the divine that exists within. Its goal is to help resurrect the pure source energy inside of us all, that we may shift in consciousness together, sharing our unlimited spiritual gifts as one big soul family, which we are. And I think a lot of people do forget about that every now and then. Francesca Rose is a writer, spiritual mentor, omniscience consciousness teacher, and healer who has dedicated over 50 years to empowering individuals in self-love and inner alignment. She embraces a lifestyle of love and compassion and shares her journey and mission to help others find God within, cultivating joy, peace, and spiritual awareness. This is a good person you want to be around, especially with the spirituality. David Starr is a spiritual mentor and consciousness trainer who helps people understand the power of their consciousness. Helping empower the source within, he leads his followers to clear out the negative emotions, limiting beliefs, while assisting them to discover the divinity within. He's passionate about helping people heal past trauma and understand more about themselves and their place in the universe, something we're all seeking. And unfortunately, sometimes we don't have the roadmap, but they provide a lovely roadmap for you to follow if you're kind of unsure as to how the directions go. So welcome to the show, Francesca and David.
Hey, thank you for having us, and hello to the audience. Thanks for tuning in.
Well, it's I think one of the exciting things about your book is that you do give them the step-by-step meditations to go through, the processes for the different aspects to approach. But for those who are, I hear so often these days people saying, well, I'm not religious, I'm spiritual. And when I say, what does that mean? And, you get a blank stare back. And it's sort of like, if you're going to be something, at least know how to explain it. And I think so many people have gone away from standard religion, yet they have a spiritual aspect to their demeanor that they haven't really defined. But it seems that understanding a spiritual journey and talking about a spiritual journey and actually understanding what it is something that people don't quite have their fingers on. So Francesca, how would you describe it? And then pass it over to David. Yeah.
So I went to Catholic school, so it's very conditioned beliefs. There's a book and they tell you what to live by, what to believe. It was very, God is superior to you and outside of you. And if you're bad, you're going to burn in hell. Whereas spirituality, I shed everything that is not for the highest and greatest good all the way to the core of my being. And with spirituality, you're open and free to believe whatever you want to believe in. You're not in the conditioned belief system that they tell you to do. And my personal belief is that we're all God, and I treat everybody accordingly, and I live by my heart, not what some religion is telling me to do so that they can make money off me, because that's what religion is, a big business. They're just trying to get their tax write-offs and control everybody for the agenda that they specifically want you to buy into. Whereas with spirituality, I can believe whatever I want to believe, and I do.
Okay, David?
I think there's really great things in religion where people come into faith and God is real, and how you see it and how you feel and experience that which is defined as God will be different for everybody. And I think it's beautiful for people to believe in higher power, even if there is more to it. I definitely encourage you not to believe in the fear concepts behind religion and a God that punishes and condones, because we're really our own punishers. We're really our own judges, and the actions and everything that we do will either raise our frequency or lower our frequency. And so for the viewers who are watching, in my way that I like to address this question is that because it's the awakened community here. And what we want to do is we want to get out of deception and into reception. And so the deception is any outside programming that you will take into your heart, where people make you believe that you're unworthy, that you can't follow your dreams, that you're not right, shaming you, making you feel guilty, making you feel unworthy. That is the deception. And that would even go into a religion concept. The reception is releasing that programming coming into your heart. The reception that there are these guides and these counsel teams that want to help you advance as a consciousness and a being of love. And the reception is embracing that divinity within yourself. And so for this question, it would be get out of deception and into reception, into your heart, into your love, into your passion. And that is the ascending in consciousness, in my opinion, that is happening during this awakening on the planet.
Yeah, I would agree that there is definitely an awakening of consciousness in the universe today. Most major religions have become egregores, and they're out for power, they're out for money, they're out for control. And when you go on a spiritual pathway, you're looking at finding that spirit, that part of the infinite that is within you, and connecting that, thereby having direct connection to the ultimate source of all creation. I try to not use the word God because that's too limiting, as in my opinion. And so I'm more focused on spirit than I am on God. The spirit within us is total love. There are no rules. It's total love, and expressing that love and living that love and walking that love and compassion. That I think is one of the big things. People have memorized chapter and verse and not lived it. And your book helps people to discover those pieces inside of us that we have available. I call them toolkits. We have these wonderful tools inside of us, and yet we are not taught to utilize them, to embrace them, and to put them into play within our lives. We have been taught that we have to go through other people in order to get to a source, and we are the source. And so it's it's coming to an understanding of that. And that's what your book helps people to understand. So for someone who is starting on the spiritual pathway, in a conscious way, what's your first suggestion, Francesca?
My very first step I've always been pretty in tune with the spiritual realm, but like when things started getting like really, really like aggressive inside of me, where, I was really becoming fully online with all my gifts, the first thing I did was to forgive myself. Radical self-forgiveness, and to forgive everybody who's ever hurt me, because we're all one. So if you have that toxic energy in you where you're still holding grudges, or you don't forgive anyone, you're just creating chaos and pain and loops in your own world. So that would be the first step, I think, is you have to forgive yourself and forgive everybody. And that's one of the things that Yeshua taught is, forgiveness. And it's huge.
Absolutely. David?
The number one that I always suggest is build a relationship with your heart. Start to talk to it as it is like a consciousness, as it is like a channel from where all your angelic guides and masters and councils and teams connect through, because we need to get out of the paradox of the mind being in control of the decisions, because then that creates like these illusions and these actor like architects that is not genuinely who you are as a soul. Like worry, fear, and all these different things come in when you start like letting the mind worrying and fearing, instead of coming into this trust within the heart and the universe. And when you start building this relationship with the heart, even if you ask it yes and no questions, like, is this meant for me? And you're just letting the heart energy come forward. Yes, if you get a yes, then what that is, it's like the divine, the higher self, your angelic guide teams coming in saying, yes, this is good for you. And it starts to begin the relationship of heart awareness, and what this whole ascending consciousness is happening. Eventually, like as we get into the book, we discuss and we show like, hey, you know what, there's also angels, and you can literally connect to them and talk to them and have these conversations, because these are your councils, these are your guide teams, and it becomes then a whole different way of living. And I have a perfect example this morning. I had a reaction. I was reacting. Even all of this work that I've done, I still reacted because I was upset because my developers on my app made a really big mistake, and I was upset because they didn't test it before updating it. And I reacted, and I said, are you trying to make me suffer? And then I connected it with my guides, and Christ comes in. He goes, David, what do you think I did in my time? Do you think I reacted to everybody talking to me? And I'm like, I said, probably. And he goes, no, I responded. And he says, and I responded in the love where we come from, not in the haste, not in these things where there's these entities that are pushing buttons with people. And he goes, because then you're fueling the old paradox. And so your guidance coming in right now is to respond from the love, because it wouldn't have mattered. They would have made the mistake anyways. And so how you reacted instead of responding from love just fueled an energy that was not positive. And then I went with him, and as we talk about in the book, and we do the shadow work, it's amazing. I was able to connect to all of these past lives that I had, and started healing all these times where I reacted, so I can let go of this energy that is not serving my love, and that I come more into my divine being.
Yeah, I think one of the things that I when I work with people, if they come to me with big problems and things like that, I usually just say, wait a minute, just sit back a second here. That this is happening because you've grown and you are moving into a new level of consciousness, and so this is basically cleaning up everything. And yes, it may be upsetting, but step back and look and understand that it's just clearing things up. You're moving to a new level and you have to get rid of the garbage.
Exactly.
And that's what you're doing. And it's sort of like, it took me a long time to realize that when confrontation came my way, it was the yay, let's celebrate. You've gotten yourself to a place where you're ascending to a new level of consciousness. There's just a few things we got to clear up here. And then it was not so much a problem as it was, okay, so let's get rid of that and let's get rid of that. And it's okay. I know that every time I do make what appear to be mistakes, they're usually drawing my attention to something that has to be dealt with. It's not a negative thing. It's a oops. Check this.
Yeah, it's all meant for us, really. And then so if we catch ourselves in a lower emotional state for any reason, that self-reflection and even building the awareness of the heart around that is exactly what I did. And then Yeshua came in and we had a conversation and he brought me to the source of the issue. Then we solved the issue energetically by healing it through, and then a new level of awareness. And it's not just about responding, it's about responding from the love where we come from. And that it just is what we are doing. We're bringing in heaven onto earth in this new consciousness evolution. And even with all of the courses I trained and all the years and all the work, you can see that you're never truly done. We continuously evolve and we're learning, and we're just trying to become better versions so that we can help the rest of the consciousness on the planet lift into this love-based reality that we're dreaming about.
Well, and that as well, we have incarnated in a physical body for physical experiences. So it's silly to protest physical things that bother us.
Mm-hmm.
At least that's what I tell myself.
Yeah.
So Francesca, one of the important things in doing all of this work is balancing ourselves. So how does one go about doing that?
You definitely have to first overflow your own cup. The most important thing that you can do is having self-love for yourself and taking care of yourself, because a lot of people in this world think that it makes them a better person to always put everybody else in front of them. And actually, you're just hurting them and hurting yourself when you don't fully take care of yourself first, because you can only give the best of yourself when you're feeding yourself with the best things. So in my opinion, it's definitely taking care of yourself, and it's all facets of life. Like, you need to take care of your mind, your soul, your body, everything. You need to not just focus solely in on one thing and, carving out time for the things that you love to do. And that's going to raise your vibration into the higher octave states and attract better life pictures into your reality that help you to balance, because you want love to be the number one thing in your life. So, you need to focus on loving yourself and loving the things that you're doing and doing a lot of good things for yourself, because there's no better way to raise your vibration and to balance than taking care of yourself.
Absolutely. And David, how would one ground oneself to go along with this balancing?
Well, it's grounding yourself in love. It's so many people that I've seen over the years, they start opening up to their consciousness and they'll go to these high dimensions, and maybe they'll have this moment where this universal being came to them and it just blew their mind and they just want to stay up there. And then all of a sudden it's like, nothing matters in my life. I have to go on a pilgrimage. I'm just going to leave my husband or wife and going to go into the woods, and I'm going to bring my kids and do all these different things. And I've seen it happen, and it's just ruined so many people's life because they haven't been grounded. And we are meant to open up to these things and to raise our consciousness, but we are also having the human experience. And grounded, we're meant to raise a consciousness, but raise the love energy. So Francesca is 100% going with the flow of love for your pets, for your children, for yourself. It's a flow of love. Where do you need to be? Where does your love, where are you being guided? Is it go seeing your parents? Is it seeing your cousins? Is it seeing your best friend? It's a flow of love, and a flow. What are you doing for yourself, for your passions? And are you writing? Are you music? Are you artists? Or are you starting a new business? Or are you going to say no to people who are abusing you physically or emotionally and say, I am going to leave. I'm going to leave and I'm not going to allow this abuse. And so you start saying yes to your love, but then it becomes grounding in love. And so like grounding in your relationships where you're needed and what you need to be doing for yourself. And that brings about beautiful moments with your family, beautiful moments with your children, beautiful moments in your life and your creative and your passions. And then, yeah, you can go to dimension 150 or 144 if you want, but it's when you come back, it's about bringing this through to your life so that your life is better, not worse, not chaotic, not making decisions where you're going to risk everything. It's how can you make things better and more grounded in the love in your relationships, in the relationship to yourself, and flow in that. That's the key.
I think too, we talked briefly before we came on the air about the tool belt that all of us have. And it's kind of like a car. Our bodies, the spirits within our bodies, we have all of the extras. It's not like we have to, pay extra for them. They're all there. Telepathy, clairaudience, clairsentience, they're all there. But it's sort of like we have this wonderful vehicle for the spirit to ride in for this lifetime, but they didn't give us an owner's manual. Mm-hmm. So it's amazing. It's sort of like, I know I have this power, this ability, this talent, but how does one bring it out? So in every case, you've talked about this tool belt that we actually have. And you've given meditations as to how to go in and work on yourself as far to manifest these different talents. Now, I think something people need to understand is, first of all, you're not going to master everything. It's sort of like I can do a few things really well, and then I'm a master in some areas and I'm a beginner in other areas. Every lifetime you're going to be manifesting to a different level with all of these different qualities. But how does one determine where one's strengths lie? Francesca?
Well, what you love. What's the thing you love like most in the world? You need to start with that. For me, it's writing. I love writing. I can do it for hours. It transports me to other realms and dimensions within myself. So you want to do the thing that you love. That it's so easy. It's actually a no-brainer. And just like any muscle, you're going to have to train it. You're going to have to do the work. For me, I started out just writing a few minutes a day, and now I can't get enough of it. Whenever I'm even stopped at a light, I'll grab my phone and I'm writing. I know that's bad, but if even when I'm with people, I'm like, hold on, I got to write this down because I channel as well. And as soon as the channels come through, I don't want to miss the transmission. So I'm writing, I'm doing the thing that I love, and it's repetition. Just like you build your muscles with weights, you're going to want to, do that 3 times a week at least, or more. And we just get better and better. Practice makes perfect.
True. David?
There's the only thing that you're going to bring with you when you die is the memories, the karma, the lessons, and your consciousness. And it's important to realize that these experiences that you're having are evolving now into love-based reality, and working on your consciousness, it's a lifelong, it's not a marathon that you're going to do in a week. So you just got to be patient. You got to be patient, and in the metaphor of all of trying different things and finding out what resonates with you and going on exploring that is beautiful. Because if you're like, even in our book, you might see something in chapter 17 that you want to just go and forget the introduction and all the other chapters. I want to know what's in chapter 17. And if that's what your soul is calling, that's what you should do. Go right to chapter 17, read that, experience it. How did it feel? Do you want to experience it more? Maybe you read it again and you go into it a little bit more, and it makes you just feel so radiant and like, that's exactly what I needed. And that's going to lead you to another path of maybe chapter 4 or somebody else or this other thing. So you go with your heart resonance. What is calling out to you? What feels, not just because it's chapter 1 and page 1. It's trust your intuition, and what's calling out to you is where you should start. And just be patient, because it's a life journey. And even like the highest celestial beings that I've met, it's a life journey for them too. And they know how important it is, because it is spiritual gifts is worth more than any gold, worth any money, worth more than anything in the realms of the high celestials, because it is the one true thing that we have forever. And it's not securities, money, houses, and all these other things. And so it's just like, it's just make it a part of your life, but be patient. You don't have to get to the finish line next week, because it's a lifelong thing. And so look at it as like a way of being, and just bring it in what feels right and what is in heart resonance, and take your time.
All right, you've covered in the book a great deal of territory as far as different qualities, different aspects, different tools that can be used. And I think the one thing that's important for people to understand is that while you take them through a meditation to develop this quality, it isn't a one-shot deal. It's slowly utilizing the meditation to get to this quality, to start to manifest it within your life. And I so many people think, well, I read it once, or I tried it once and it didn't work. And I think it's important for people to understand there is a quality of practice, of doing things on a regular basis for a number of days, weeks, months, maybe years, until you get to a place where you could say, aha, I've got it. Now let's build on it. So where would one start? I mean, you go from the very basics to the very extremes in the book. And I see your point. It's a good one. If the last chapter is exactly what you've wanted, you're going to have to concentrate on it, but at the same time, build up the stepping stones that lead to it as well. So where does one begin, Francesca?
You definitely have to open your heart. That was a huge one. I would notice, like, when I don't really get negative emotions anymore, because I practice with unwinding all of that out of me and healing every wound. But I first started with opening my heart. And anytime I feel my heart contract, I would open it again, because your heart portal directly connects you to your source light. So you're definitely going to need to focus on keeping your heart open. And for me, that was the most basic thing, other than sacred space. And what I mean by sacred space, it's not just calling in your guides and, grounding your energy, which grounding your energy is huge too, because like your gifts won't even activate if you don't ground, because you're just going to be up in another dimension, and it's never going to come through your body and anchor to the earth if you don't keep your energy grounded, because we're here to bring our masteries through omni dimensions. Whatever our favorite energy is from any dimension, that's what we're here to do. We're here to ground and anchor it to this world to change the paradigm. So I would say that grounding is huge too. And then from there, you're going to create sacred space, because you have to keep your vibration as high as possible, because that's when all the cool stuff comes in, and when you can interface with cooler guides, cooler energies. You can really create a space for source light to come through your body and anchor into the world. And with the sacred space, that means don't eat toxic foods. That's going to lower your vibration. Don't surround yourself with toxic people. If you keep surrounding yourself with toxic people, you're going to be in that energy, and that energy is going to consume you on a soul level, and it's going to lower you down to the lower dimensional realms, and you're going to attract negative things into your reality. Don't watch negative things on TV. Why are you watching all these horror movies and things that disturb you and give you anxiety? You want to vibrate as high as possible, because then you become very, very gifted, because you're creating that space for the highest things to come through.
David.
All of it is so funny, because you see how she asked the same, that Barbara asked the same question twice. So, but where do they start though? And because all of these answers are absolutely true. There's not one answer. One of the things that I love and that I teach is spiritual hygiene, and I teach it because that at this one meeting that I had with some of the gods beings, they're talking to me about how everybody has these energy fields, and there's like millions and millions just when you walk out of your house. Birds, trees, people. You go into a Walmart, boom, there's like 10,000 energy fields right there. And there's this quantum entanglement that happens when you get within that 6 foot between people and their fields. And so you literally could walk by somebody who just had this explosive fight with their partner, throwing glasses and yelling and screaming, and without even realizing, you picked up that energy in your field, and all of a sudden you start feeling like upset, a little anxious, a little annoyed, a little not well, like you're just because we are so connected that way. And when you clear your energy, then you clear all those entanglements, and then you're in your own creational light. You're not mixed up between, if you've had fights or arguments with your spouse, you have these entanglements and these cordings, and with spiritual hygiene, you just clear them. And so that they're, because when those cords are connected, there's this exchange of energy, of anger, of upset, that keep ping back and forth between you and them. But when you clear it, then you're in your own energy, and this intrusive energy gets released. Once you release that intrusive energy, then that's the perfect time for meditation and setting up sacred space and connecting within. So for me, it's always about making my energy right first, and then everything else will fall into alignment with whatever I'm doing in my life. So if there's an issue, I make the energy right. But spiritual hygiene is number one, in my opinion, for everybody.
Well, and a reason asking both of you the same question is that you both come from different places, and it's good to show that everybody starts from a different place, hopefully ends up in the same place. But it's, everybody is different, everybody is unique, everybody is going to want to jump in a different place. One of the things that you didn't cover in the book that I get a lot of questions on, and I thought I would throw it out to both of you. How do you know?
We have another book coming, so it's probably going to be in there, whatever you ask.
Oh, well,
maybe. We'll see.
Okay, let's hope so. A lot of people use tools. They use divining rods. They use pendulums. They use automatic writing. In all three of those areas, for sure, quite often the ego tries to get in there and give you messages that are not appropriate for you on a spiritual level. how does one tell the difference between the ego and pure spirit? Let's go to David first this time.
It's heart awareness, discernment. Is this message coming from love? Is it coming from ego? Are you all of a sudden, are you getting a message that you're the supreme commander on a ship of the Andromedan fleet and you're here on Earth to save? Like, it's never going to go
Yeah.
like that, right?
Yeah.
A lot of people get into this ego, like, oh, I'm an archangelic aspect. Well, you're actually an aspect, yes, of that and everything from all the way up to the highest levels of you have aspects and you're an aspect of. And so when you start realizing that we are all coming from this same like consciousness and experiencing every dimension and realm and universe together forever as love, then okay, you know what? Maybe I can believe that I'm not better than other people and these things. But when you are using these, if the information coming through is coming through to create fear, to create
Yeah.
this panic or superiority and stuff like that, it's chances it's not coming from like the realms of love, because they understand there's even lessons for you to learn, and so they're not going to interfere with your soul contracts because that would entangle them. And so these higher love energies are going to come in and be supportive to help you come into higher love and be very positive messages. And so the discernment is it a positive message that's trying to bring more love into your life, or is it trying to, does it make you feel worried? Does it make you feel superior? So if it makes you worried or superior, that's coming from, let's just call it, the energies that are not love that exist in this polarity construct.
Francesca.
Well, I really had to change my whole worldview on the world to ascend my ego, because the ego comes in as protection, but then it takes over and you go into your wounding with the ego, and everything that isn't healed within you is going to come back as ego. And so I ascended my ego into my guardian angel energy. So, with that being said, I really don't listen to any negative messages, and even messages such as like, you're better than anyone in any way. I had to change my point of view to say, we are all God. I look at everybody, and the first thing I think is, oh, wow, that's another version of me. And oh, wow, we're all God. And you really change, and the way you treat people and the way you treat interactions is different. And you don't come from an ego place if you're placing the energy of God in between everything you do. Everything that I do is very intentional. I'm thinking of God in the process when I'm interacting with anyone. Even before we started this meeting, I'm thinking about God and how I'm going to best represent my highest God light for this podcast. And then I know that I'm not in my ego, and it's really a superiority thing. If you feel as though you're better or you want to be better, I feel like that's ego. But I know we're all gods, so no one's better than anyone. So really, your ego dies when you realize that you know it, you believe it with unwavering faith. That there's a difference between like someone saying this to you and me knowing, like, I know we're all God, unlimited source, creational energy, and this is our temporary spaceship that we have here to navigate the world. So my ego isn't going to come in, because I know I'm the same as everyone else and we're all awesome.
Yeah, I think that's where it goes, like where you're clearing your channel, doing the shadow work, and doing these. When you release the toxic energy out of yourself by doing the inner healing, like, and like even today, I was doing it for myself, and I had to do it a lot in the beginning, like a lot, like and clear all of these old energy. It was so bad from all of the relationships I've ever had in all my lives. But the moment I figured out how to clear them, and I cleared thousands of lives of either physical, emotional, or sexual abuse, whether I was a woman or a man. And when I opened my eyes, this big black cloud of energy came out of my root chakra, and the angels were coming in to swoosh it away. And these are the energies that we create by being mean, by doing things that are not of love to our partners and relationships, even if they're short or long term, it doesn't matter. And then that stays inside of you until you clear it. And so as you clear all these out, you become a better conduit, a better channel, whether you're using rods, crystals, oracle decks. When you're more pure and aligned and like doing things what Francesca is talking about, by seeing everybody as God, because that is the truth, then the messages will even be greater and more love. And you, if you get messages that are not, that likely means there is some energy trying to infiltrate in a way, and that's why we talk about sacred space and spiritual hygiene, because you want to clear that, and you call on your guides and only the highest messages of love to come through. But you got to create your sacred space, you got to clear your channel and do that inner work. I mean, this is an evolution and it's not overnight, but these are great things that are being discussed here that will help out so many people. I'm loving this conversation, really.
Oh, well, I'm glad.
Yeah.
One of the things that I talk about constantly, and especially about the spiritual journey, is that what fuels the spiritual journey is the element of creativity within our lives. Because when we are being creative, we're becoming a creator. Therefore, we are fueling a creative journey that our spirit is on, which is one of love. And the element of creativity is so important in people's lives. Often when somebody comes to me and says, nothing's happening, nothing's moving, nothing's going anywhere, I'm stuck, my first question is, what are you doing creatively? Mm-hmm. Because without creativity, writing, drawing, gardening, taking engines apart, putting them back together, I mean, creativity is part of the element of creation. If we are creators, what are we creating? And so many people don't, I don't have time to be creative. Well, that's ridiculous, because you're part of creation. You are a creator. What are you creating? What part does creativity play within your philosophy of what you've done, Francesca?
I think that creativity is one of the most important things in life. I stressed for my children. I have 2 sons. I stressed their creativity more than I stressed on grades. I'm just lucky that they get good grades too. But I always was trying to get them to create stuff. I was doing art or cooking or, doing things. And that's God in motion, yes. Creativity. And it makes your life even better when you're creating things, because you're actually using your God power and you are shaping the world around you when you're creative. And your life just becomes stagnant if you're going to get depressed too. If you're not using your creativity and creating, not using your God power, you're going to be sitting around doing video games. I mean, some people love that, but you're not bringing new creation into the world. And it's your energy signature. It's showing who you are, and you offer in your creativity energetic codes to people when you're creating something, and it's your voice. When you're creating something, it's showing your unique puzzle piece to the world and making the world greater so we can create higher energies and worlds together in our future incarnations.
David?
Well, sometimes you have to destroy in order to create. Yeah. And you might find that there's an abusive partner who's always being narcissistic, drawing on your energy, calling you names, making you feel unworthy. And so you got to create a better energy, and you got to say yes to yourself and no to allow that into your life, allow that into a relationship. And you got to end these things, because otherwise they're just looping soul patterns and they're making you feel emotionally inferior when you're not. And so sometimes you got to destroy these old versions of yourself and these belief systems so you can come into your God creative light and begin to create things of joy. Definitely the higher councils and the teams want people to be creating in their joy and with their passions, But how can you do that if somebody is constantly abusing you, or if you're allowing that abuse into your life and stuff? So sometimes you got to say goodbye, and even to versions of yourself that allowed that into your life. Or there may be things that you're unhappy about, of ways that you behave and that you act, and this is where you got to go within and become aware and destroy that version of yourself by healing it, by releasing it, and coming into this more love version, this version of yourself. Yes, that is how I feel. I feel good with myself when I'm this person. I don't feel good when I'm yelling and screaming at my kids. And as you start healing these things and releasing it, destroying the old versions so that these higher versions can come through, these happier versions. You know, it took me a long time before I looked in the mirror and I said, I love you, and I meant it. And it was a big day for me. And you do that by doing that inner work, and then that self-love, and like that becomes your joy creation center, because then you start like, I love myself now. My self-esteem is feeling good, and I'm going to create something for myself. It's not about money. It's not about this. And even if there's a slight thing behind it that, yeah, maybe I want in the future, I might want to make money. When you do it because you love doing it, and you just believe that one day you'll be supported doing it, just that's beautiful, and you're in your creation. But sometimes you got to destroy things that are preventing you from being in that your highest God creator things that are not of that are making you unhappy, and you just become aware of them, whether they're things other people are doing to you or that you're doing to others, and you just make the energy right, and then everything else will fall into place.
Yeah, well, definitely. I think that certainly, when even it comes to buildings, often you have to knock a building down to build a bigger one. And with relationships, the same way. Sometimes people just, there's a wonderful, excuse me, it's not like a poem, but it's kind of a poem that with friendship. And it's, there are different levels, some a season, a reason, a lifetime. And sometimes people are only a reason, they're for a reason, not the whole lifetime. And sometimes you try to make them lifetime friends, and they just, it doesn't fit. So I think going with the flow too is in accepting what is coming your way instead of trying to make something into what you think it should be. Excuse me. I tell people all the time that we create our reality by our perception of it. And if you don't like what's around you, change it.
Yeah.
It's not, people often will say to me, I hate my job. I wish I had another job, and on and on and on. And then they come and they say, I got fired. And it's sort of like the universe waited for you to move on. You didn't move on. You got fired. Congratulations. Now you can do what you want to do.
Mhm.
It's not a negative. It's a positive.
Yeah.
Of course, they don't take that as, an exciting thing to hear from me, but the reality is, let's celebrate. You finally have the opportunity to move on. You did bring something up a while back that a lot of people have probably heard the term but don't know exactly what it is, and I'll give it to you first, David. You were talking about the shadow self and how to let go of it or integrate it, whichever.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's really we've had a lot of lifetimes. We've made a lot of it's not just about one of the most important things to recognize about shadow work, and when you're going into this, is you are not a horrible person. You are not a bad person. We've just lived thousands of lives in a polarity, and we wanted to experience everything, and so we made some really questionable decisions, but they were intentional to experience that. But we're coming into the final lap of the ascending time, and we're just meant to clear all that out. You have many more lifetimes where you're like an angel, this perfect person, this beautiful person, but what is coming up right now for us in our life is a reflection of the last things that we have to heal within ourselves to get us into this beautiful love energy. And it's the most beautiful thing to do. because we become more in love with ourselves. Life becomes less chaotic, and we become better versions of ourselves when we clear these energies out. Uh, and and then the people around us improve, because not only are you clearing for yourself, but you're clearing through genetics for your children. A lot of this stuff is passed down through ancestry as well.
Mhm.
And I know it's like, oh my God, so we got to do ancestry and then ourselves. It's like, hey, this is why it's a lifelong journey. So
Yeah.
don't worry. Just embrace it and be patient, and just, you're not wrong. You're not bad. This is, we all played in the mud, and then we're going into a cosmic shower, and we're getting clean, and we're releasing the old muddy energies.
Good visual. Francesca.
Before I met David, I didn't even know what shadow work was. I was like, I'm an angel. I don't need any of this stuff where I'm going into it. And boy, was I wrong. And I did shadow work for 2 straight years every day. And I realized that when you go deep within your soul, there are energetic blockages that we need to remove that are keeping us in loops and in lower dimensional energy. So by going in and seeing all the things that were unconsciously or subconsciously affecting my current life, I had to go in, I had to face myself face to face, and face every fear, face everything that I felt as though I missed the mark in life, because that's what sin is, like missing the mark, where I felt like I could have been a better person. I went in and I thought about every single person that I ever hurt in any way, and everything that I've done was not intentional, but I went in and I apologized to every single person, and that cleared my energy. And there's so many things I did. I went into every wound that I ever had. I had to go in and clear. And people do that with past lives too. They, if you ask your heart, what is it that I still need to clear? Your heart will direct you to where you need to go into the shadow work. And what I realized is that there is so much trapped light in your shadows that you just release so much light into the world and you become brighter. I swear, like doing the shadow work was anti-aging for me, because it heals the wounding, and then your God source light can shine through clearly. So it's hard. It's super hard work to face the things you don't want to face about yourself. But when you integrate all that and you start to appreciate yourself for all that you went through on this journey, we're all masters here. People don't think about it, but we manifested ourselves into physical bodies. Like, how cool are we? Like, we are all awesome. Like, we're all wizards. And, like, we made this human body. And, when, you clear everything, you really see yourself and you integrate this new energy from the appreciation of yourself, for the appreciation of coming here, Mount Everest, not knowing anything and trying to navigate through this world and find that you're God and find God within you and everyone else. Like, you're a champion, but that takes clearing everything that has been programmed into us, conditioned, taking out all your filters, everything, every hurt that anyone ever did, any mean comment that anyone said to you or you said to them, you will clear that. And it's easier than you think when you're intentional about it and you ask your heart. And you can go straight to God too. Like I said, the heart's a portal into pure source energy, but I'd ask God, I'd say, God, show me what I need to heal. Where do I need to clear stuff for my shadow? And I got the message that, you integrate it all. You don't bypass it and pretend that it never happened, because you did that stuff, you went through it, but you integrate it into a higher love energy. And that's how we create new energies, by the experiences that we already had in lives. So it's a good thing.
Add one thing to that.
Sure.
Sometimes it is hard to forgive somebody. Something that might have happened to you that was so devastating, and it could be a sexual or physical violent act that happened, and it's really hard to forgive somebody, especially when it happened in this life. And and it creates post-traumatic. Nobody wants to relive that, and I understand that with the deepest sympathies. But I do want to say there's one truth in the law of karma, that you are going to have to pay it back to them in a future life. And so when you can forgive it and release it now, you don't have to meet them again. And or you but the truth is, they're your soul family. You would only trust somebody with the highest love, that loves you so much, to do something so horrible and take on that karma. And so you're really, when you forgive it, you're helping out somebody who you truly love, even though it's hard to believe. How could I love somebody who's a monster? But at a soul level, nobody's a monster, and we are healing the monsters inside of us. And so when you forgive and you release it, you're doing something so amazing. You're not going to have to relive it in a future life. You're healed it. You can move on from that lesson. There's no more living that trauma anymore, and you free yourself of it and that energy, and you help out a soul that you truly do love, because everybody is love as souls. And
Oh,
you
yeah.
would, and this is so important to know, because that will make it easier to forgive and let go.
Well, I think your book does give everybody a good foundation, a good place to work from, a good place to focus when they decide, where best their energies seem to fit, and what calls to them. It gives them the wonderful the entree, the way of moving into the development of the different aspects of self. It's not I read straight through it because I was going to interview you too, but if someone was going to work with the book, it's something you could work with, truly for the rest of your life, because there are so many different areas that you cover, that you reach into. I just noticed that we've gone over our time, but that's okay. I want to thank both of you, and if you want to let us know where and how people can get a hold of you, and get a hold of the book, that would be great, Francesca.
yourhigherpowerbook.com has all of our information on there, all of our websites. You can just go there. It makes it super easy.
Fantastic. David?
Ditto. See you there.
Hey, that's a piece of cake. I want to thank both of you so much for being available, and sharing your thoughts and your philosophies with us. And I hope a whole bunch of people buy your book and work with it, because it does have some very wonderful meditations and ways to start to on their journey within. And once they get started, the journey basically takes care of itself. It's that you give them the leaping off place, which I think is phenomenal.
Thank you so much. You are amazingly enlightened. So this is a super big pleasure for me to spend time with you.
Yeah, thank you so much for having us, and for everybody who's tuning in, and feeling the resonance of this, because we're in this together, and we're breaking through all the paradigms and the ancestral issues, and we're shifting this planet together. And so for all of you who've been doing the work, or you're just starting the journey, thank you so much. Keep believing in your heart, and we're doing it together.
Well, thank you, and thank you everybody for joining us. And tomorrow night, another show. Check it out.